It is currently 5 in the morning. I actually woke up at 5 in the morning. I'm proud of myself because I don't usually wake up early. Oh, I wanted to talk about the story of the 10 Commandments. In the 4th grade, I was like obsessed with this story, and I had watched like a whole bunch of different like versions of the telling of this story, to the point where like the story was like embedded in my head, and I knew it like the back of my hand. So now I'm trying to see if I can like recount it accurately. And let's see. I'm quizzing myself. So we're set in Egypt, BC, and we got our boy Moses. Hold on, does this have anything to do with that alligator story? I think it does, if I'm correct. So back in the day, some king decided something. I don't know what happened, but basically some king was like, I don't want any boys. If you got any boys, you gotta toss them into the river for the alligators to eat up. So Moses' mom, she didn't want to kill her son, because who wants to do that? So, you know, she devised a plan. She was like, I'm gonna put my baby in a basket. I'm gonna send him out into the water. Whatever fate he's beholden to at this point could possibly be better than getting ate up by a bunch of alligators as an infant. So she puts him in this basket and she sends him on his merry way. He lands at some like some castle. I don't know what the name of this kingdom is, don't ask me. One of the servants, or was it the queen? I don't know. It was probably the queen. It was someone, I don't know. Some lady found him and was like, oh, a baby, I will take him as my own. So I think it was the queen. And they raised him to be the prince of Egypt. But yeah, they raised him to be like one of the princes, because there was the other prince, and we'll get to him. So they were raised, they were raised as like brothers, you know. They were raised together and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually that king at the time got sick and died, maybe. I don't know. I just know that at a certain point, the original prince who was there first had to replace that current king. And now Jewish people were like being enslaved at the time. And I think Moses is also Jewish, and he's like, oh, this is not good. So anyway, through a bunch of I don't even remember, he ends up in a different town where he ends up meeting his wife, and I think they have a kid maybe, and he meets the bush that's on fire. The bush is burning, but it's not burning because it never like stops being on fire for real, or at least it's not withering to the fire. And that's because this bush is God. And he meets God as this burning bush, and he's like, God, what should I do? What should I do, God? And God was like, girl, if you go to the kingdom and you ask them to let your people go, and they let them go, then bone up the teeth. But if they don't, then I will rain down my wrath, I think indefinitely, right? It was like indefinitely. It was like 10 days, I think. I don't remember most of them. It was like 10 days of a wrath. Or maybe 7 weeks. I don't know. 10 weeks of a wrath? I don't remember. But he was like, to give them, like, you know, give them some kind of, you know, something so that you don't just seem like you were making it up when you say you were talking to God. Here's a staff, and it'll turn into a snake, I think. If they don't believe you after that, then they will feel my wrath for some amount of time that I don't remember. Moses is like, okay, cool. So he goes down to the kingdom, and he's like, brother, let my people go. Here, I talked to God, and he said to tell you to let my people go. I got the staff turns into a snake, let my people go. And his brother, the king now, he's like, sorcery. I have magicians who can do the same thing as you. And he gets the magicians out, and they do their little dance. I don't know if that, I think that's probably just the Prince of Egypt that does that, but they do their little song, and they do their little dance, and they're like, I don't remember how the song goes. I haven't watched Prince of Egypt in a while, because Netflix took it off. And not only that, they have their stupid address rule. Where was I? Oh, right. So the magicians, they're like, yeah, we can play that game too. And then Moses is like, you know what? If y'all don't want to believe me, fine. But you know, you'll feel God's wrath. And he's like, yeah, okay, buddy. And then soon after, the water everywhere started turning into blood, which I feel like it should have ended there. Like the water, you know, like in the ground turned into blood. They were like, we've got wine, it's fine. And the children, the babies, the new babies. Well, I mean, the new babies shouldn't be drinking water anyway. But the toddlers running around, you're gonna get them drunk too on wine, really? So anyway, I don't remember everything. I used to remember everything. I'm kind of sad I don't remember everything. But there were like the different days of God's wrath, or the different weeks, or something like that. I don't remember. Maybe I can look them up. I'm gonna look them up. Should I cheat? No. I said I was quizzing myself. So never mind. I just remember the first thing was all the water turning into blood. There were locusts at some point, frogs. I don't know. The main one that mattered though, right? The day before this one. Oh wait, no. Oh wait, hold on. No, I remember. Hold on. Like, I think each time, like after each wrath from God, he like went back to the bush and was like, God, they didn't believe me. He was like, try again. And if they don't, I'm gonna give them a different one and we'll see what they say then. So he kept doing that back and forth. Moses goes up to God like for a certain time, I don't know. And he's like talking to God, and he's like, God, he still didn't believe me. And then God was like, okay, you gonna ask him again? And if he says no again, tell all the people in the town to go slather lamb's blood over their doorstep, and then they'll be protected. Moses is like, okay, I don't know what that means, but sure. He goes up to the king. He's like, brother, stop that. This is madness. You've gotta let my people go. And then the king is like, no, our entire economy is dependent on free labor. We can't do that. Our economy would literally fall apart at the seams. Moses is like, I bet. So he goes to the townspeople. He's like, hey, y'all. So if you believe me, go ahead and smear some lamb's blood, because you've witnessed it. You've seen the locusts. You've seen the water turn into blood. If you believe me, drop it on the. So if you believe me, guys, slather lamb's blood over your doorstep, and it will protect you from God's wrath. And the town people who believe him are like, yeah, sure, yep, it will do that. Some people do slather the lamb's blood on their doorstep, some people don't. And God's wrath this time is that a thing is gonna come, and it's gonna take the lives of the firstborn son. So the king has a son, and because the king didn't believe Moses, and also, where's his door? Would he have even been able to do that? Because it's a castle, so it's like, where would the blood? I always wondered this. His son dies along with a bunch of other firstborn sons around the castle, around the kingdom. Then this time, Moses goes up to the king and is like, so you're gonna let my people go? And then the king is like, just go. So he leaves, and he takes all the enslaved Jewish people with him. And they all go, and they all track down everything. On this voyage, they just keep walking to find, Eden or something? What? I don't remember the name of the place they were looking for. It was some kind of like oasis type place. On this journey, I don't know, the people get tired or something. I don't know what happens. I think they just start to lose faith. And Moses is like, okay, we're gonna take a break here. Y'all, do whatever to take a break, I guess. I'm gonna go climbing up this mountain for no reason. So he goes climbing up the mountain for no reason, and coincidentally, he ends up talking to God again. Maybe he was like, thank you, God, for helping me free my people. And God is like, yeah, here's some stone tablets with the commandments that you guys need to follow. Since I helped you out of your predicament, you gotta follow my rules, because I'm God. So anyways, he gives the 10 commandments, and they're just a bunch of stuff. Thou shalt not steal, listen to your parents, don't do adultery. One of them is don't praise false idols or something like that. Basically, don't create a god and then worship that instead of me, is basically what that thing said. Me being God. I'm not God. I'm talking about God. So he goes on down. So while he was doing this, some of the people I don't even know how they had the time to do this. They melted a bunch of gold into a cow mold. They melted a bunch of gold into a cow mold. They stopped believing in God, so they fold. I exist to entertain myself. Y'all just happen to be. Okay, so anyway, while Moses was doing this, I don't know how they had the time to do this, but basically they took a bunch of gold. I don't know where they got the gold from. It's like, whatever. I'm sorry. They took all the gold that they had from like jewelry and goblets or whatever, and they melted it down into this like cow mold, and they created a statue of a cow, and they started to worship that instead, because they're like, God, we haven't seen God in days. We've been starving. We've been famished. We've been and they create the statue, and they start to worship that, and they all get drunk, and they all party, and they all have a happy little time. And Moses comes down, and he sees them doing one of the things that God literally commanded directly against. It's only 10 rules. They're major rules, but it's not like, you know how Alaska has a bunch of like random rules? Like, it's just these like 10 basic principles, and they ended up breaking one before they even got to the tablet, which is crazy, because it's like, y'all lost hope that fast, y'all lost faith that fast. Like, we just freed you, and you were hungry for what, 3 days, and now all of a sudden I don't exist to you?
I also just remember, like, didn't God appear as like a pillar of light leading them to like the new place? How did they lose faith so fast?
So it's like, I get it, but it's also like, we didn't even see the tablet, so how were we to know that you didn't want us to do this? That's completely invalid, because the previous point I made. Whatever, anyway. So Moses gets down there, and he sees all the people partying with this golden cow statue, and they're like, guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna make God upset. And they're like, this is our God now, dude. This is our God now. Get with the program. Hold on, wait, does this happen after he floods the people? In my head, it doesn't. I might be telling this in the wrong order. I don't know. I'll just keep going. Anyways, the ground opens up and swallows the main people who created the statue and were worshiping the statue along with the statue. So I'm guessing they all got sucked into hell, which is kind of crazy. Because what, people can't learn from their mistakes? Again, I didn't even know this was gonna be on the tab. I've been hungry for 3 days. I've been starving. Like, give me some slack, man. Oh my God. I'm just saying, I think we should be a little bit more sympathetic. Being hungry does some crazy things to a man, all right? I feel like they should have been given the opportunity to grow, but you know, whatever. After this happens, the people are like, oh, God is real. They continue on their voyage. Eventually, they get to like this ocean, and then I think this is how the story goes. They get to this ocean, and Moses is like, guys, we're almost at the place. We just gotta cross the ocean. And they're like, Moses, how are we gonna do that? He's like, guys, God is gonna help us. Stop being so skeptical. So then he does his thing, and God parts the sea for them, and they start moving. And then as they're like halfway through the ocean, the king is there, and he's like, there's Moses. We're gonna take the Jewish people back because I'm mad that my son died. Moses is like, oh, guys, we gotta go, we gotta run. So they all start running. The townspeople, they start running. And then the king and his men start running too, chasing them. So Moses and his people, they all get to the end of the ocean, to like a different island, I guess, I don't know. As they do that, God closes the sea back up and drowns all of the king and his men. I remember in the Prince of Egypt, the king didn't get drowned. It was just like his men. I don't know. I'm just gonna assume, like, biblically, he actually did end up getting drowned with his men. Then they're at the place, and they're like, yay, we made it. And then that's the story of the 10 Commandments. I'm not accepting any criticism, because and thank you. Bye-bye. Goodbye.